So it's Forbidden Door weekend. It's in the UK, and one of the country's most prominent promotions is conveniently celebrating their 13th anniversary on the same weekend. You have a title versus career match, a rematch of one of the best RevPro matches of the year. The IWGP World Champion is on this card, and one of the biggest women's wrestlers out there is on this same show. We got a mix of AEW, New Japan, and TNA talent all wrapped in. And at the end of the day, I was disappointed. Look, there was some genuinely good to great wrestling there. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Zozaya I thought was excellent at 4.25 stars. The crowd was behind Zozaya, and Zack Sabre Jr. made him look like he belonged on that level. They had this incredible pin reversal sequence with bridges and roll-throughs that got the crowd chanting, "This is wrestling." That was probably the climax of the match. That is what I came for. You had other solid matches too. Connor Mills and Jay Joshua versus Cowboy in that tag finals had some good powerhouse combos and near falls. Mills and Joshua won with a one-legged crab crossface combo. I gave this one 3.75 stars. The main event with Ricky Knight Jr. versus Sasha Samuels was a good feel-good story. They brawled through the crowd and Samuels was bleeding heavy. And despite the dangerous spot, Samuel pulled off the upset win. I gave this 3.5 stars. Danny Luna, Kanji, and Mercedes Moné versus Cutthroat Collective I thought was fun, especially the last few minutes with high impact sequences from all women with strikes, thrust kicks, and knee strikes. And I thought Windsor and Mercedes looked really good together. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Then you had your standard matches. Nino Bryan versus Robbie X for the Cruiserweight title was fun, with some nice moves from both guys. I gave this one 3 stars. Persephone versus Emerson Jane I thought was good, though I was holding my breath on some scary spots, like that German suplex. It looked like it could have broken Jane's neck. This gets 3 stars. Yuya Uemura versus JJ Gale was solid, basic but mechanical with good back and forth. I gave this 2.75 stars. The lower end had Hechicero, Kieran Lacey, Mark True, and Real Craven versus CPF and Blue Panther. They did their usual double and triple team combos. This gets 2.25 stars. But here's where the real issue started. Michael Oku versus Leon Slater should have been a match of the night, a rematch of one of RevPro's best matches this year. I was genuinely excited for this one. The effort was there. They had plenty of time. But I didn't feel that epic climax that I was expecting, especially for the story of Slater wanting to finally get a win over Oku. Now they did the usual stuff: Fosbury flops, swantons, 450 splashes, dives, everything. But it wasn't much different from their other matches against each other. Now look, I get it. Sometimes creating something different and subtle to make it stand out can be a difficult task, but it's not impossible. And I was waiting for just that. And it just felt like a replay of the other matches that I pretty much am not going to remember. This gets 3.75 stars. I just felt incomplete after this match. Then you had Sunshine Machine versus Crew that dragged and ended very lame. It was standard heel versus babyface stuff. The match was struggling to get to that next gear. Then Sunshine Machine just walked out for a countout finish. I get the idea with their character work, but the finish made the whole experience feel wasted. I gave this 2.5 stars. And that brings me to the real problem. RevPro has set a standard over the years. And with that standard, I've come to expect greatness from them, especially on big shows like this. You got Forbidden Door weekend, their 13th anniversary, all this outside talent, the perfect setup for something special. But despite having good to great individual matches, this show didn't reach that RevPro standard. Even the matches I called solid, they should have been more. The tag finals with Connor Mills and Jay Joshua versus Cowboy Way. It had good wrestling, but I expected it to be great for an anniversary show. Nino Bryan versus Robbie X for the Cruiserweight title should have been at least borderline great, but it was just good with that anticlimactic finish that nobody saw coming. And the main event, Ricky Knight Jr. versus Sasha Samuels, Title versus career. This should have been huge. A career-ending stipulation on your anniversary show should deliver more than what we got here. That's how high the RevPro standard is. Even decent matches feel disappointing when you expect greatness. For an anniversary show, for this particular weekend, I expected that extra gear, those standout moments, those standout matches that remind you why RevPro is one of the UK's best independent promotions. Instead, it felt like just another show that happened to fall on their anniversary. In the end, this gets a 7.75 out of 10. Now that may seem pretty good for a show I call disappointing, but that's just the thing. I want greatness from RevPro. They set the standard for me as a fan. I expect great, not good. And for that, for the RevPro standard, I don't recommend this show.